guys! So after the success of my last video review, I was actually quite impressed with all the positive feedback and views, so thank you very much. So I've decided to do another one, but you will have to bear with me and excuse me because it's been a very long day at work and I'm incredibly tired. I've actually also been told that I have a frozen shoulder, which is awesome because it's so painful. Have you ever had one? It's agonising. So I'm quite uncomfortable, and on top of it all, I've got a gammy ear as well. So I'm like the walking wounded. So I thought I've got to cheer myself up with something. So I thought when it comes to album choice, something cheery, something upbeat, you know. Okay, so Japanese band Coffins, they're going to be releasing their third full-length album, Fleshland, on Relapse Records come July the 9th, so it's a little way off yet. Well, not too far, what's that, like 3-4 weeks, something like that. Anyway, so these guys, if you've not heard of them before, they're a real name on the underground. They've done so many split albums and EPs, you know, and like I said, got a couple of full-lengths previous. I've not given them a whole lot of attention, just speaking personally in my own sort of listening collective. They're a doom/death metal band, and I think that's what kind of put me off in the first instance. I'm just not a fan of doom, like, at all. It's just too slow. It's too stonery for me. It's like boom, boom. Too monotonous. However, okay, I really like Coffins. I mean, the vocals in particular, and just the overall feel of the album, actually. It's not just a doom album, as I'm going to explain, so bear with me. To make a comparison, I would probably be comparing it to something like Obituary's Left for Dead EP, maybe. There's that real old school vibe, and in some places it's so punk and thrashy, but with this death undertone. Awesome, it's really wicked. The production is quite muddy as well. I don't know if that's just financial budget or whether that's like an authentic. I had a feeling in my mind it was kind of an authentic doom sound to have quite a muddy production, but maybe someone can clarify that for me. I'm not sure, but anyway. So moving on to the actual track. The opening track, Here Comes the Perdition, it starts off really slow and really quiet, so really doomy, and it builds up into this massive, upbeat, punky thrash monster, and that's kind of just, it maintains that feel, that upbeat feel onto the next track, Hellbringer, which brings in a different style of vocal. It's a bit more black style, and it's kind of scary in this weird way. There's a real demon-like ambience, and the guitar parts are uber slick, I have to say. But I mean, it comes up to with like the colossal hole. The doom element really shines through with that, and the album just slows right down. So for me, wasn't so keen on this track. It's just the drums slow down to a point where they're barely moving, and it's just too sludgy for me. I'm sorry, you're never gonna fully convert me into the doom. So really, from the first few tracks, you know, you could hear that, you know, it's varied. You know, Fleshland, it varies in tone, speed, song length. However, the one thing that they do maintain is that old school sound. You know, so there's a lot going on, but it's not messy. Put it that way. So the most impressive part that I thought of this album was the way that each track was so different. You know, as I said, those first three tracks were completely different to each other. But they all flow into each other without jumping around. It's not, you know how albums, sorry, my arm's hurting, how albums kind of, they go sort of slow and then fast and then slow, fast, wakes you up and with a bang, or it's just all fast at the beginning and then it slows down into a kind of like a, where this album doesn't do that. Everything, it's all mixed up, you know, it's sort of like slow, fast, slow, doom, but they all flow. All the tracks flow into one another. It's really smooth. It's slick. I thought it was quite clever, actually. It's been really well done. So all 9 tracks, you know, they still have their own identity, but they manage to flow into each other. It's wicked. It's definitely a highlight for me on this album. It's not something that I think you hear a lot of. You have to kind of hear and listen to the album from start to finish to really hear it, but it's really quite impressive. So my favourite track, I suppose we should go on to say, is going to be No Saviour, which is probably about the middle of the album. I think I haven't got the track list in front of me, so I can't remember. I thought the vocal style was most impressive on the Vacant Pale Vessel track. I think it was just because they're further forward in the mix. Do you know what I mean? I think the production seemed a bit clearer than on the rest of the album on that Vacant Pale Vessel. But definitely my favourite track, probably because it sounds the most death metal, I think, was No Saviour. I'm a death metal girl at heart, sorry. So anyway, to summarise, because I have whittled on for long enough. Yes, Coffins, I'm getting converted. They're a real interesting band. I mean, I've not said much about their playing abilities, but it's impressive. I hope I've sold you the album enough. It's an impressive album. It's an impressive album. The band are really interesting. They've got an interesting sound going on here. I mean, generally, I will always keep anything Doom related at bay. Completely, just be like, no, don't want to hear it. I hate it. I'm sorry. There's always one genre that you just don't want to listen to. I wouldn't let the Doom aspect, if you're like me and incredibly close-minded. Not really. Then definitely give this album a try, even if you're not so keen on the Doom. If you love old school sounds, you're gonna love Coffins if you've not heard them before. There's so much more going on than kind of what you might think upon first viewing. So, keep open-minded. I'm certainly more open-minded than I was before, and I do seriously recommend this album.